Hi friends, I wanted to bring you along today as I paint this bright and happy and colorful bouquet. Here's some of the digital work that I do for all my custom orders. Here's the rough sketch, the refined sketch, the final color composition, and the final line work, which is what I transfer to the watercolor paper. Before I begin painting, I pull up all my reference photos on my computer and the final line work and color comp on my iPad, as well as my color guide to help me with my color mixing. I used masking fluid with this painting to preserve all the little white flowers of the bouquet, and I dipped my brush in soapy water before going into the masking fluid to help save the bristles. I painted over all the lily of the valley flowers and the baby's breath. This bouquet had a cloud of baby's breath over the bouquet. It just created a really beautiful, like, fairy light halo around the bouquet. It's so gorgeous. When I needed to get more masking fluid, I would wipe off as much as I could on a paper towel, load up with soapy water, and go back into the masking fluid. Using masking fluid is really helpful if you need to preserve certain parts of your painting, or if you're needing to do a really wet wash over a large area except for a small part that you don't want to paint over. You can use masking fluid to cover up what you don't want to paint right then. It's super handy and super stinky. So to begin painting, I started with the lilacs. I wanted to frame in all the other flowers, so I used a light wash of ultramarine violet and white to designate the lilacs. I used a fairly wet wash so I could start adding in the variations of purples. I started deepening the values of the lilacs, receding behind the other flowers. Once I finished with a light wash of purple for all the lilacs, I wanted to get those roses defined, so I went in with pure Winsor red and started filling in all the roses. Now this bouquet is just a lot of lines right at the beginning, so color blocking it like this helps my brain and helps me start to visualize what the piece will be like as I'm going along. And I was never able to identify this type of flower, but that's okay. I just painted what I saw, and they added the perfect pop of yellow, and they're gorgeous flowers, whatever they were. So it's okay that we weren't able to identify them. They added just the perfect addition to the bouquet. Next was the larkspur. Building up layers and layers to achieve the depth of color that they needed. They were a really beautiful, purpley, almost like royal blue color. I went back to the lilacs now. I wanted them to feel full and layered and detailed, so I outlined some of the little lilac flowers to make them look like they were standing out farther than the others. And then I went in and added little details like this. And then going in again and deepening up certain parts of the lilacs to really make the flowers in front of them stand out. Then I went back to the roses. My head was totally getting in the way of the shot, so thankfully I checked and filmed the rest of me painting the roses from a better angle. Anyway, I wanted to get those roses in painted fully with their deepest value because I knew those roses were going to add a lot of weight to the painting with their intensity of the red and also the deepness of the color. So I wanted to get those in their complete glory so I could start accurately gauging and playing off those values to make sure that I was getting the values of the rest of the piece the way that I wanted them. A lot of time that's what I'll do. I'll deepen up one part of the painting and then realize that another part of the painting needs to be deepened up more to help balance out the composition of the painting. So just going back and forth and playing with values is really important. These sweet carnations were the most lovely pinkish, peachy color with red-tipped petals that really makes them pop. I'm adding some subtle shadows here on this one. Then I would go in with layer 1 for the red tips, which is a little more watery wash. And then I'd go in again with a thicker wash and add in brighter and darker details. It just really makes these flowers pop. I love them. I was getting pretty close to finished at this point, so it was time to take off the masking fluid. As you can see, I just gently rubbed it off, and it has kept the watercolor paper protected from all the other colors I was painting over it. It's so satisfying to rub off. I love how much the white's baby breath pops against the red of the roses. Next was adding the thin stems to the larkspur. And I wasn't able to film everything, but I went in and just kept tweaking and adding more and more little details like this. I added some detail to the white lily of the valley, added some shadows, and then went in and painted the stems. And I really need to get a smaller brush. The tip on this one has dulled a little. I thought I'd show you a little of my after painting process, so here I am removing the final painting from the stretching board. I stretch my paintings so that they don't buckle as I'm painting them, and it gives it a nice touch, a nice finish to have a perfectly flat final work to frame and display. Next is cutting it, or rather tearing it down to size. So I frame it out, measure it again, and then proceed to hand tear the edges. And I just love the look of a deckled edge, so I'm really happy that the person who ordered this wanted a deckled edge. And there is the final painting. It was such a beautiful, gorgeous bouquet. Like, I kept falling in love with it more and more as I was painting it. It's such a celebration of color and flowers and happiness, and it was just a pleasure to paint and a pleasure to work with the client who ordered it. I love working with people who order, who want me to paint beautiful things for them. I just love it. I'm so excited to wrap it up in my new packaging if you've been following along on Instagram. So thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye!